I transplant, I do things all around, and so it's interesting to see what comes up, and
Yeah. Yeah.
some of
Did
that.
you all lose much in the cold weather?
Oh, I tell you, the Rotary Garden, we got a memorial garden out at Creasy Mahan that we rejuvenated last May.
Yeah.
Oh, the extended drought was number one. We don't have irrigation, but we had a 400-foot long hose, and so we had a team watering it. But I think toward the end, we thought the non-rain period was over, and the hose got put up a little too early,
Yeah.
and then that December tremendous.
So. Oh, okay. We'll be careful.
That December, where temperature dropped about 50 degrees. That was that's the one that did the Nadinas and the laurels and anything had leaves on them.
We lost all our laurels and we've lost a lot of little bushes.
Yeah.
So it's just the way, but we've replaced the laurels already. So that's good. Hi, Linda.
Hi, what did you put in instead of laurels?
No, we put in more laurels.
More laurels. Oh,
Yeah.
good luck.
We're optimistic.
Okay, they are pretty.
Well, what I learned from actually, I think it might have been Jack. I'm in the same garden club with the Jacqueline's in, and so I learned a lot of stuff from people that really know. And
Yeah.
they said that we're in winter, plants are used to getting cold, they acclimate themselves, but when they have that extreme 45 to 50 degree drop, it's too late. They can't recover.
So we met with our landscaper yesterday because we have a yard full of laurels,
Oh,
and he said exactly what you just said, Herb. He said, if it gradually gets colder, they can deal with that. But when it's 50 degrees one day, and -8 the next, they just can't handle that.
Yeah.
So, but he told me not to give up yet. He still thinks some of them may come back, maybe from the roots, and then we have to decide, are we willing to wait for them to come
How
back?
patient? Yeah. How patient are you? That's the question.
Yeah. And I said, gosh, Matt, I don't know how long we're going to be actually in this house. If it's going to take 10 years, I'm not sure. Not sure I can wait that long. Oh, dear.
Exactly.
So anyway, I bet Ron is here somewhere.
Here. He's here.
And
He's listening to us. He's spying on us.
I've got a question for you, Ron. If I just got a call from John Evans, and he says that the Oldham County Band would like to perform for us in the pavilion on Father's Day, which is June 18th. And John Evans wanted to be sure that we don't have anything booked at the pavilion on that day. And I think we don't, but I think Ron's the one that would be able to answer that. Of course, he may not be listening.
Not paying attention to us.
He's not paying attention.
Well, you said he had to go work on, there's a project with the dumpster.
He's out in the playground.
Oh, he's probably outside. Okay.
Yeah, he got it open, and we talked for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And Linda, Miracle is putting in gravel as we speak.
Yay!
Yeah, they are.
Good.
They are indeed. I can vouch for that.
Good. That is great. And
Herb, it looked like there was enough gravel to me, to my untrained eye.
Yeah, Rob believes that it's quite adequate, even to the point maybe there's excess, but we'll see.
We'll see. It looked to me like there was plenty. Looked to me
They
like
have a lot of play to meet the playground standards. Like the end of the slide, it can be 8 inches or it can be, I don't know, 15 inches. So there's play, and of course, they build these all, this is their specialty, and it's hard to ever get real good answers, definite answers, and trying to work with them.
Yeah. Who else are you expecting, Lee?
Sylvia, yes? Connie?
I thought Sylvia was in mediation all day.
Yeah, Sylvia was tied up.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
We can go ahead. We have a quorum, actually,
Good.
with her.
Do you need to,
myself.
do you need to wait for Ron to stream it?
It's all, we said we're live.
Ron should do
Oh,
that, right.
Okay.
He
Okay.
told me, he came in here to warn me, so I wouldn't say anything
Okay.
inappropriate, which I never do.
No, very likely. So is Ron there to start it up?
I think we've started.
He started it, Lee.
Okay, great. Okay, we can proceed with the Forestation Board meeting today, April 12th. First thing is approval of minutes of the March meeting. Linda distributed them. Any comments?
Yeah, there in that third paragraph, I'm not questioning that was talked about, but I would like to talk about that as part of this meeting where it says another issue for future discussion and communication is recommending not planting trees between the street and sidewalk as it compromises the health and stability of the tree over time. So I like to, that's a hard blanket statement. I don't know if, I know I've had great success with the Zelkova that's between sidewalk and tree, and I like to have trees in the front yard, and it's the best place for it. So anyway,
So are you suggesting maybe it be amended to say, be more selective about the type of tree that's planted? That some will be,
no, I don't want to question the minutes. I guess I jumped the gun a little bit. No, the minutes, I recommend approval of the minutes. It's just when a little bit later in the meeting, I'd like to maybe discuss that, what you're saying, Linda. Yes. How's that?
sounds good. And hopefully Andrea can give us some direction.
Yeah.
Yes, Herb, that's a good idea. Discuss that later. Maybe under item 4, additions to prohibited trees.
Okay.
In any case, I'm in favor of approving the minutes. Linda wrote them. You're approving them.
Yep.
All in favor? Aye. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the mayor's update, and we're so glad he's here.
Thanks,
So-
Lee. And I've gotten from you all the list of trees that are in trouble or dangerous. And you were nice to send me the letter we send out. I want to do a little work on that, and we'll get notice into the people's hands as soon as I can get it a little further down my list.
That would be great, actually. And then certainly the letter that I sent you was just a sample that it
Right.
needs to be approved. Absolutely. Okay. Did you have any other comments on our ordinance review?
No, I gave you all some suggested edits
And I've got those.
a couple of weeks ago. So I think that's it for me.
Okay. I wrote that up. I had to write my report for the council and have it in by noon today, as that requested by John Carter. But I put in that report that the ordinance had been reviewed by yourself and by Chris Gorman, certainly by the board, and it's ready in some form to go to council. Linda, do you want to report on the status of that and how you have that?
I have a copy that incorporated the latest changes from the mayor. It can be distributed. My thought is that we use it as it currently is so council members can see what the changes actually are, kind of the before and after, and that they have a better understanding of what we have done. And once we get approval or any changes from them, then it would be revised into something that's not red and black and blue and able to be posted on the city website. So would that be something that I send the latest changes to John and he get that out to council, or what do you recommend? How should we pursue it?
Are you talking about something for the council packet today?
I can have that to you as soon as we get off this meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we'll do that.
Linda's done a great job of it, marking and incorporating all the changes that have gone on over a period of months.
That's the only way she does stuff.
Yes, a great job. Okay, now we've come to consultants report. Andrea's on there.
Okay,
Andrea, you want to go ahead, Andrea?
sure. The first one on there is the canopy trees. They're scheduled, I think I sent you a note yesterday, weather permitting, to be planted Friday.
Yeah, right.
We're waiting on the last tree for the bud markings, the tree to be planted along Hunting Creek Drive on the exit side of 42 that Lee and I looked at last week. But as far as I know, they're still, that's the schedule at this time. And they'll be picking up, Ron said he has trunk guards. They all get trunk guards, right, Lee? All the canopy
Yes,
trees?
they do. And Ron has them available.
Right. He emailed me yesterday and said he had plenty. So the tree planting guys, Perez and Cortez, can pick those up from City Hall or from Ron like they usually do. We sent, there was a discussion, I think, was sent out about 3 trees. We discussed this at the meeting last month. And then I think Lee sent out a note to you all about an update on the 3 Bradford pairs between the sidewalk and the street on Timber Ridge Drive and Timber Bluff Court that I was identified as being hazardous, and he sent that out to the board. I didn't know if you were going to vote on that today, Lee, or not, or it requires more discussion.
I think we should vote on the 3 trees that you specifically identified and we looked at as being Bradford pears that constituted hazards.
Right.
The addresses are already in the notes I sent out and what you sent out. And yes, they should be designated for removal.
Those addresses again, Linda, I think you have them, are 5603 and 5605 Timber Ridge Drive and 6905 Timber Bluff Court.
Yes.
Which is just around the corner from
Mhm.
one of the other
Right.
houses.
And just as a review, those trees are all in a state of decline. 95% of them, they've all planted probably about the same time back years ago by, I'm assuming, the developer. So between the droughts last year and the recent windstorms and various weather events, they have a lot of issues. So you'll probably be hearing more about. I'm going to keep an eye on those trees because they all are close to the street and they all are showing pretty severe decline. So the hunting, Lee, you have Fox Harbor Road on here. I wasn't sure what that's referring to.
We visited, you and I visited that property. It's actually owned by the Weeds, and you designated one tree as hazardous. Black
Right.
cherry.
Do you want to fill the board in on that visit or a little bit more, or did you?
Well, I wrote a
You sent information.
email report on it,
Right.
I believe.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. So there's a tree located on a lot behind them that's owned by, what is that homeowner's name, Lee? I don't.
I think it's
Burn?
Brown, I think.
Brown.
Yeah.
And they had some tree damage recently, but one of the trees on their lot has probably from one of the recent windstorms has blown and is leaning and lodged in another tree, which is very precariously lodged, and it looks like it's going to fall.
I think you, Andrew, I think you're talking about the tree on Bridgepoint there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No,
I see.
what you're
Yeah,
saying
well,
is right. It's just a different address. That's all.
Right, I'm sorry. The one on Fox Harbor Road.
Is that 7251?
It's 7254.
Yeah, that one,
7254.
we weren't, the lady that lives there, the resident was concerned about the trees that she thought perhaps were owned by her neighbor, but I don't think we could confirm that those trees were located, I mean, they could be located on her property. Isn't that what we decided?
I think she accepted the fact that the one tree that you said was dangerous was very likely, if not certainly, located on their property. It was very close to their
Right.
fence.
Right. And it really didn't look that bad to me, but she was worried about it. So, it's obviously on her property, and if, she certainly has the option to.
They're well aware of it. And,
Right.
we'll see.
So
what
that
they
was,
do.
yeah. And then the one in Bridgepoint that Lee was referring to, do you want to describe that situation, Lee? Could you probably have the addresses?
Yes, that there's a conjunction of properties behind Ridgepoint Boulevard, and specifically from New Bern Court. There's actually like 3 properties all converging on one small area, and there is definitely a hazardous tree there. It is leaning towards a small private playground, and it certainly should be removed. And that's the one owned by Brown, as I recall. You and I went up and
Yes,
looked at the New Bern Court address, and
yes,
the Brown should receive a remediation request letter.
that's correct.
Yes.
And I think that's all I had at the moment.
Yes, well, I had a new one. We just came up on Tuesday, and I wrote an email message about it.
Right,
The property owner at 7251 Fox Harbor Road was concerned that there was a hazardous tree near his property. He thought it might be owned by MSD, but it's actually, I'm sure, owned by one of the property owners. It's not clear which one, because we have not looked at the tree, but his reason for concern was that water had eroded some of the earth protecting or enshrouding the roots, and the possibility that tree would fall. So we need to make an appointment to go see that particular tree and try to determine who owns it. I'll say for the record that if frequently we encounter trees that someone is called in about, and the property owner does not know who owns that tree, whether he or she owns it or the neighbor owns it or whatever.
It's not unusual for people not to know their property lines.
Right.
Mhm.
what was that address again, Lee, please?
It's 7251 Fox Harbor Road.
Okay,
It's well up on Fox Harbor.
yeah,
And you and I,
That's-
and
that's when
anyone
the
else
house
on the
is-
board can go there.
And the house is pushed way back to near the rear of the property.
Okay.
It is actually.
So
And
if there's a tree nearby, it could jeopardize,
right,
and then
jeopardize it.
I've not been in the back of that property, but pretty much in that area, the land falls away sharply to the rear of the properties. And that house that at 7251 was essentially vacant for several years. It was superficially maintained, but the present property owner bought it about a year or so ago, and has been improving it in several different ways. And asked us to take a look at that tree.
Let's go back to the first item. You wanted to vote on those 3 properties.
Yes, that needs to be done.
I wrote down a 5605 Timber Ridge and a 6905 Timber Bluff Court. What's the other one?
And your head.
Hold on one second.
5603, 5605, and then 6905 Timber Bluff. The other 2 are Timber Ridge.
Yeah,
Okay, I make a motion that we take action on those hazardous trees at those 3 addresses.
Yes, that they be sent, the property owners to be sent remediation letters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
A call for a vote? Herb,
Good.
certainly yes. Myself, yes. How about Linda?
Yes.
Okay, that motion is passed. Andrew, do you want to talk any more about any particular trees or about the one you put on Hunting Creek Drive, or we'll put there?
well, we moved it was sent through email also, but we moved the oak tree that was going to originally be planted in the memorial tree for Paul Davis on the right side of Fox Harbor Road got moved to the exit side of Hunting Creek Drive. I think I sent you all a photo of the location.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty
Is
bare of trees in that area. There were some the city had to remove a few years ago, so I think it'll be a nice addition there. It's called a Jordan Street oak. It's a type of white oak. So that's the one we're waiting on getting the utilities marked, and as soon as it's marked, then it should be able to be planted hopefully Friday with the rest of the trees. Do we need to send the homeowners a note that they'll probably be planted Friday, Lee, or towards the end of the week, or they're just on standby, I guess, right?
They're on standby. It's
Okay.
not a bad idea.
You
No,
sure
I could
they
easily
still have
send
their
them a note.
flags in?
I think it's a good idea to notify
Yeah.
them.
Just be sure they still have their flags in.
If somebody needs, if I got time to notify people, if you got contact information, I think they ought to be notified, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to
Well,
be
they
sure the
have
flags.
been notified in the general way, but I can send them a note saying, looks like Friday is the day.
You can say weather permitting or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, weather permitting, yeah.
I think
Well,
it's supposed to be good weather.
They've received 2 weather permitting notes already. But
Okay.
I'll send them a
Well,
third
they
one.
ought to know that.
It'll probably happen. That's great.
And
Okay,
you don't need to you can tell them Lowe's is not delivering them, so.
right. We'll just add that the memorial tree will be replaced when construction is finished in Little Hunting Creek Park. That planting will actually probably not occur till fall because we're running into or running past the time it's optimal for spring planting.
Right.
If you didn't realize, the mayor so graciously accepted a change order to extend the sidewalk all the way up to Fox Harbor.
Yes, that's really good, actually.
So although people in Fox Harbor, won't get their feet dirty coming to the park.
Yes, people frequently park, either walk down Fox Harbor Road or they drive down and then park at the little turnoff along that area.
Sure.
Fox Harbor typically has a Fox Harbor picnic in early October. It's pretty well attended. And that sidewalk will definitely be a plus. And the widow of the person which we're putting up a memorial tree, I think will also be happy that there'll be a sidewalk there that people will stream by and see the tree and the plaque for her husband.
Right.
The plan is to have a little bench. There's a little pull-off area, that little bench.
Oh, that'll be nice. I didn't know
Well,
about
that'll be
that.
nice.
That'll be nice.
Good for the use of the pavilion too.
Yeah. Okay, that concludes Andrew's report. The next item I had on the agenda was addition to prohibited tree list. there is an official list of trees recommended and those prohibited for planting along city streets. I had apparently incorrectly recalled that we had years ago placed Bradford pears on the prohibited list, but when I looked at the list that's on the website, the city website, it's not on there.
It is on the copy that I redid and was in December of 2020. In fact, I looked it up before the meeting, and Bradford pear is listed on trees not acceptable for planting.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Means my mind is still functioning a little bit, but it's not on the list. It's on the city
Well, I
website.
don't know what, I'm not sure which version of a list Ron has on there, to be
Yeah.
honest, but, and I thought we had the cottonwood under invasive, but I don't see it, so maybe we can ask Ron just to.
We had talked about the cottonwood a couple months ago.
Right. We can
One
ask
of-
Ron to add that one.
We'll add that one on, and then Linda, maybe you can send a final or current list, you might say, to John Carter, and he can have it placed on the website and replace the one that's there.
Okay. Okay.
And Herb, this would be a good time to talk about the sidewalk issue. It's not specifically on the agenda, but it kind of fits into this one. And I have to say, Paul Cappiello wrote a report on widespread metro damage after the big wind we had in March. And he remarked that a lot of the trees that fell were not because of species, but because they had been planted in little areas between sidewalks and streets and didn't have sufficient land available to develop adequate root structure.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Those
Well,
areas are-
I just don't think, let's see. I don't, I think before once we're responsible for it, I don't think we would probably entertain that. But I think in some areas, maybe some people, and in my case, I live up on a hill. I did have a tree up on the hill, and the tree got sick, and I didn't want to plant, and it got sick because the leaves weren't getting moisture. I don't exactly know what that disease was, but I'm not too interested in planting another tree back, but I do want a tree in my front yard. So that's why I didn't want to be, such a blanket statement.
You could, Louisville Metro has specific requirements in their online about the types of trees to be planted in between sidewalks and streets, according to how wide the areas are, from very narrow areas to wider distances between a sidewalk and the street. So you could always refer a resident, or you could refer to that in general, if you're talking about areas like that. I don't recommend planting large trees in a narrow area between a sidewalk and the street. They're gonna do just what they did in the windstorm in older parts of the city that you just mentioned, Lee. And they're also subject to, utility damage, and it's just a very inhospitable area to grow trees. But having said that, there are some things, species selection and things that can be done to make it more successful. You also have pruning issues when you plant a real large tree in a narrow area, and it grows right as soon as the tree starts growing. In about 4 or 5 years, the branches grow right out into the street.
Well, there's,
They have to be limbed up. So I would refer to the Louisville Metro ordinances for street tree planting if you need to refer to something.
I personally 2 weeks ago on a Saturday planted a tree on 8th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And these trees were furnished by trees Louisville or trees, something.
Louisville.
And I don't, probably about 50 trees were planted. And
Right.
in that area, I guess, you know, they didn't feel like they could go on private property. So, you know, they wanted some trees in downtown Louisville. So
Right.
that happened to be the species happened to be an oak tree, which
Mhm.
was surprising.
Well, I can't speak to that, but that's what, you know, there are specific guidelines. I'm just saying you don't have to create your own.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't we take a good look at that Metro guidance and maybe we could incorporate that to our reference materials.
Yeah, see, the existing ordinance and the revised ordinance as it stands now, just talks about spacing
Mhm.
between
Right.
street trees. And it does talk about, overhead clearances over sidewalks and, streets. That's fine. I don't think that's the second issue. It's a big issue, limiting people
Yeah,
to it.
I'm not sure that, I mean, you really haven't had much of that come up, have you? Have to,
Just a little bit, mostly in Innisbrook.
Yeah.
Where there's, been some concerns
right,
about, branches obstructing the
right, right.
sidewalk passage.
Yes, we actually got a,
Remember Innisbrook.
we got a request from the post office that we
Mm.
needed to limb up those trees or they would stop delivering mail because there wasn't enough clearance for the postal trucks.
And that's
Oh,
another
good.
good example of trees being planted in a fairly narrow area, probably the wrong species. And as those trees age, you're starting to see problems with them. So,
Sidewalks
Yeah.
being and everything else, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. So, you know, I think, you know, there are definitely some better choices that can be made in areas like that if a resident wants to plant a tree.
Andrew, do you have readily accessible the relevant portion of Metro that deals with that? It can easily send it out, or do we need to find it
It's pretty
ourselves?
long. I don't have it offhand. I mean, but I can send you a link to it if you
Yeah,
want.
send us a link to it to everybody on the board.
Right. Okay,
That would be useful, and
sure.
we can propose that as a change in ordinance later. And certainly we can change our tree guide
Mhm.
as it relates to planting.
Okay, sure.
Right. Okay. And Linda Wardell, thanks for that note. I didn't know about the post office complaining, but that's worth knowing about. That's okay. The next item I had on the list was the work and planting schedule there at Little Hunting Creek Park, and Herbert's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had a meeting of all the persons involved in site development, the general contractor, the playground contractor, greenscapes. And it was determined that greenscapes not to do planning, they would be the last. So what's happening is, if you haven't noticed lately, the sidewalk work probably is going to be done by this time next week. And if the weather holds up, the playground could be done by this weekend. So I would say I'm gonna contact Julie and tell her the status. I mean she's in in Prospect a bunch, but I'll still bring her up to date. So I got a feeling that the tree plantings will happen, and then the mayor is considering whether to put some sod in, and so I don't know if he's made that decision, but I think
Yeah,
they'll do it.
we're gonna do that.
Okay.
We're
So
gonna
be,
put some sod, some being the key word.
yeah,
We're gonna put a recommendation from Bornstein. We're putting 3 feet of sod ordering the sidewalks in the pavilion.
Can you use have you asked for tall fescue sod?
I didn't ask for anything. I asked for sod.
Tall
that's what
fescue
it is.
sod is a much better bet. It will do better than bluegrass sod. There's 2 types of sod. And
It's
usually,
the tall fescue.
is it tall fescue? Good,
Okay.
great.
Now, the other thing I've just seen, Linda, this is for Linda Wardell. I think they're bringing the Ferris wheel about midweek. That's a joke, Linda.
Thought you were serious.
Okay, you need more on the report, Lee.
No, I just wanted to mention that, I actually, further down the agenda is the draft budget. But I requested monies for watering all the new trees going in to that park
Right.
in case of
Mhm.
drought, whether they're from green space or for any other purpose or planting. We want to make sure those trees are protected during the summer drought. And I requested such monies.
Mhm.
Okay,
There is actually a hose bib located right smack start in the middle. So, and all the trees, proposed trees are fairly close to that.
yeah, that's great. Okay, next item actually is the new tree plan, which has been developed, circulated, and is in the process of being signed off by all the board members. And if you're on the board and you haven't signed that, please do it like now.
Yeah, Lee asked, I was the last one to sign about 10 o'clock today.
Okay, so it's all signed up now?
No, I haven't been there. I'll try and
Oh.
get there tomorrow or Friday.
Okay, that's great. And that would just go to the council as part of the council package. And they typically vote on it, and then the vote is recorded and it goes into effect. But the ordinance does require that that plan be submitted to council by the last Friday in April. And that's being done.
Great.
Okay. The next item was the draft budget that I circulated and actually sent not only to the board, but to the mayor and to John Carter. I don't know if anybody has any particular comments about it.
Looks good.
Okay. Well, one item that I put in there was the ash tree, emerald ash borer protection money. Arbitrarily put in $2,000, but with Andrew's help, we need to make a little survey if any of that needs done. I have ashes on my property, which have been treated ever since 2007 or 2008, since ash, and they're budding out right now. So if there's healthy ashes elsewhere, such as along Innisbrook, along Sutherland Farm Road going into Innisbrook, they should be budding out. So we could take a look at them.
I can look at those, Lee. There's only a handful that are due for treatment if you'd like.
Okay.
Next
If you
week.
just do
I
that
was
and write a
counting-
note, that would help.
Yeah, I think I was giving them till at least next week to leaf out a little bit more. And then
Okay,
we can see. I'll write you a
Okay.
note or an email.
great.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other budget comments?
Did you like my suggestion of having some emergency money?
I saw that, Connie. I didn't particularly know how to handle that. To some extent, the watering money is,
That's good.
let's say, is an emergency provision. That's usually what we require, and then the tree maintenance budget, which is actually budgeted by Ron under the Mains Department, is going to be $40,000 for removal of damaged trees. But maybe we could get a comment from the mayor here. Should we include, or do you have some reserve monies in your budget that could be utilized?
I think we've got if there's an emergency or a problem, I've got a contingency fund. We can look to that.
Okay,
And we've got some ability to move money around within the budget. So I think hopefully we've got enough flexibility to deal with issues that come up.
okay,
Okay,
great.
We wouldn't have to bother you, but
okay.
if you don't mind being bothered.
That's
One,
a good suggestion, Tom.
something I wanted to bring up was if we are able to identify a project to work with Parks and Recreation for LG&E grant money, we've not set aside any money for a project. And is this something that we can come back to council and say, hey, we've come up with something, here's a plan, we're going to have professional drawings and, cost of plant materials, et cetera. How would we move forward on that?
Where are you in the planning stage on that? Or is that just something you're wanting to do, or? have you
Well,
got-
what we wanted to do is kind of wait and see what survived from the winter and the drought, because that might create some opportunities for projects on public lands. Things are just coming out now, and I think we had agreed that as things come out, we'll have a better sense of where we might be able to do something that would be meaningful.
So this would be a grant from LG&E, it's like a matching grant? Is that?
Right, they have a
That's correct.
program of matching grants. City has to put a proposal, has to agree to
Matching funds, probably.
the matching
Mhm.
funds, and to include within that a 3-year maintenance plan
There's maintenance,
for,
yeah.
for the trees.
Okay, I guess I just need a little more guidance or a little more understanding. This is something we have applied for, or something we're going to be
No.
applying for?
We've talked about it for more than 1 year, but we've never really moved forward on it. We do not have an application in. Every 6 months, there's a opportunity or window to put an application in. I think the next one is in October.
Mhm.
Linda Knox here is up to date on that, as perhaps anyone. Can you comment on that, Linda?
Yeah, it is available only certain periods of the year, and it would be October. And the way it's set up, you actually cannot get any extra information until that window opens. I've got some data from when we've looked into it before, and we can use that to kind of look at potential projects as we, exploring different parts of the city.
How much, do we know how much money we're talking about?
There's a wide range of what could be granted. And it depends on our project, are we gonna do something that's gonna cost us $10,000 and ask them to fund 5,000? Or there's times where I think there are people doing like a $500 project. There's projects of many sizes throughout the city that have been given grants.
Again, I think if you apply for it and get it, we will find the money to, yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Right.
As long as we're in that range. When you come back and ask for $100,000, it may be more problematic.
I don't think.
Well, we've not done that yet, but it's a great suggestion. Okay, if there's no more comments on the budget, Linda Wardell had reported a mulching problem on Putney Lane. Linda, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I was out in the Putney Pond area with the project manager who's been doing the invasive plant removal, and she was taking a look at the work that they had done on between Timber Ridge Drive and the spillway. And as we walked along those trees that were planted a few years ago, she made 2 comments. And one was that she thought the mulch was too high. And I did mention that to Ron, and his comment, I don't know if Ron's on or not, but his comment was that he thought we just needed to pull the mulch away from the base of the tree a little bit, but he said actually those trees are planted a little high. So his
Yes.
thought was that it wasn't that there was too much mulch there. It just appeared that maybe
Right.
there was too much mulch and maybe it needed to be pulled away from the base of the tree. So that, I guess that's something that should be looked at. And the other comment she made is that those trees have been in for a while. They do have the tree guards on them. Either, in most cases, either the zip ties have been cut or the trees, grown and split them. But she said, I wonder if they need to be there or if they should be
They
removed.
don't need to be, and we've asked Ron in the past to remove those. It's been a
Okay.
while now. I asked him even last year to remove some of those.
Yes,
We
we
just
have,
need to remind him, I guess. He's been really
Okay.
busy, so I haven't brought it up again because I know with all the storm damage and so
right.
forth, he's been probably covered up.
And I guess I'd say the same thing about the trees that were planted along the Orange Trail in Harrods Creek Park. And I personally went and cut some of those zip ties because they were getting tight around the tree. Someone had mentioned that to me, but I didn't remove them. And I'm sure all of those can be removed as well because they've been in for several years.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just,
I
think
tried to
except for
remove
the
those,
last couple years, they all should be removed, and maybe
Removed,
that's
yeah.
something when he slows, I don't know if the maintenance department ever slows down in Prospect, but that
Yeah.
would be a good thing to do. I agree. But, volcano mulching is always a problem with landscapers, so we can't overemphasize, but, in the past years, previous, administrations and things have hollered a lot about mulch, too much mulch against the base of the tree trunks, but it's kind of never gotten anywhere. So that's why I haven't brought it up in the last year or so. But I think Ron's aware of it, so maybe he can deal with that then.
okay, that's really done by Greenscape and
Right, we don't really have much jurisdiction over that.
we don't have any really.
No.
Yeah, right. But anyhow, maybe I'll send a note. I will send a note to Ron about the tree guards down at Harrods Creek Park. I was down there maybe 2 years ago now trying to take off some of those guards, and Ron advised against it at that time, feeling that the deer would still damage the trees, but maybe they've grown enough that could be done now. Okay. There's a dead holly on Honey Creek Drive exit. And we talked about it. Again, that's maybe a maintenance issue.
Right.
And
I think the last meeting or two, Ron said he had it on his list, but
he probably
it's
does.
just
He's
been
had a
tough.
lot of stuff on it.
Right.
And,
Yeah, he has a lot of
yeah,
stuff on his list.
the guy does a multitude of jobs for the city. I was just thinking about it this morning. He's part of the Forestation Board and
Well, this,
communicating and
this-
taking care of the trees.
well, the park
removing
improvements
trees, you name it.
last year and a half, park improvements is taking a fair amount of his time too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
He's been involved in every meeting and involved in.
yeah, yeah. He was there just at the last parks meeting, maybe regularly attends, and
Mhm.
in any case, he does a lot of jobs for the city, and he's
Right.
been very busy. Okay, the last item actually is kind of a Ron item. Also, he's in the process, or may even have ordered the memorial plaques. We sent a request for quote off to the sign company we've used in the past. They sent back the prototype design and wording. It all seemed to be quite acceptable. Linda Waddell looked at the wording for her husband's relative and also for her own. And I looked at the ones for Davis. So just a question of getting those plaques in. And it's really an amazingly small amount of money. I think it was around $269 total for 3 plaques, including one larger one for a memorial tree for Paul Davis. Anyhow, that's in progress and should be happening. And the last item, unless somebody else has something to bring up, is the next meeting.
I do have one item, Lee.
Yes, go ahead.
I got a lilac tree at the Arbor Fest last year,
Yes, sir.
and it is doing very, very well. It is,
Great.
Lovely.
You have that green thumb, Herb.
well, I had to cut one down. So,
Well, that's great. The other
Yeah.
thing is just reminding you, Lee, you and I talked about this, but I believe we did at the last meeting, having one of the Chinese elms that was planted last fall in Cowley Park is leaning from one of the windstorms. I think the
Oh,
early
yes.
March windstorm. So when they plant the trees, they're going to straighten that tree.
Good.
Very good.
Maybe stake it. I don't know, but at least I think we can just straighten it for now and tamp it
That's
back
great.
down. Okay.
Yeah. So Perez is going to do that.
Yes.
That's great. Very good.
And
Good.
how many new trees are going to be planted in the canopy tree? Is it 6?
5.
I think yeah, maybe 5 now without the data.
It's 5. That's 5.
No, it might be 6. It's either, yeah.
That's
Is it
great.
5? Lee would know. Maybe I'm off one.
Maybe you're counting the oak, Jordan Street oak.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
maybe.
am. Yeah. I think it's great.
Yeah.
You want a motion to adjourn?
Well, no, got one more thing. Lee had sent out a message to all of us about how pretty the trees on Timber Ridge are that are blooming and suggested an article. And Connie and I had been in communication. She's written a very
Right.
article, and I took some pictures that I really wasn't happy with, and I think she's taken some pictures, and I'm not sure how it's coming together, but we are working on it.
Very good.
It's great.
They said to send it into Ron as an e-blast, so I did. I asked him to send it as an e-blast, right?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get it out, not wait till the next newsletter, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because the trees are in bloom right now. They look
Yeah, they're
really
really pretty.
beautiful. Yes. Anyhow,
I
thank
used
you
your
both of you.
photo. I used your photo, Linda, because
Okay.
So you do have a photo now between the two of you?
it's really hard to take a photo
Yes.
because of those poles, you know.
And the traffic. I was standing in the street.
Traffic.
Well, it's good to use a camera too,
Yeah.
Connie.
That's right, I forgot. Next time.
Okay, I think that's it.
Thanks
You
for both of us.
should have seen us dodging cars.
Mm-hmm. It was
You have to be careful.
We can't afford to lose either of you. So be careful. I want to talk about the next meeting a little bit because I have a serious conflict right in the middle of the day. So alternatives would be meet early, like 10:30 in the morning, or meet late, like 3:30 in the afternoon, or on a different day. Or somebody else could share the meeting, but 2 o'clock's not gonna work for me on Wednesday, May 9th.
I can go either way.
I agree. I can do either as well.
I can't do Tuesday morning. Would it be on oh yeah, I can't do Tuesday mornings.
Can
See,
you
it
do
was
the afternoon?
I have
Did you say it
another.
was Tuesday, the 9th? Tuesday, the
It
9th?
is.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't think I can do the 9th. I think I'm going to be out of town. I'm actually going to be out of town that coming back that day, and I've got some other meetings from Monday that moved to Tuesdays. So I don't know. I probably couldn't do that date.
Can we move to
Well-
Wednesday, the 10th? Is that
Yeah,
a-
I could probably do Wednesday. I don't know about
How's it?
you all.
How's that work for you, Lee?
that will work fine, I think, for me.
I'm okay, 2 o'clock Wednesday, the 10th.
Okay. Why don't we plan on that? If it's
Okay.
acceptable to
May 10th
everyone.
at 2 o'clock.
I don't know that it matters, but I've got another meeting at 2 o'clock on Wednesday. You all can go ahead without me.
Well, we like to have you here, actually.
I can do it. I can do it at 1. I can do it at 3.
How
I
about
can
1?
do,
Yeah, we could do 1.
How about 1?
1 o'clock, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
1 o'clock on, we're talking about May 10th. Is that right?
Yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
That works. 1 o'clock works for me.
All right, thank you very much.
Great.
Anything else before this board?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Okay, how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thanks to everybody.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks
day.
very, very much.
Alrighty.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Right.
Two.
And Andrew, look at your schedule and let me know when we could go visit this new property on Fox Harbor Road. Thank you.